It started with what seemed like a simple post, or rather, the absence of one. In a world where celebrity relationships are often measured in likes, captions, and perfectly curated anniversary tributes, silence can speak louder than words. And when fans noticed that Brooklyn Beckham hadn't publicly marked his anniversary with Nicola Peltz, the internet did what it always does. It started asking questions. Was it intentional? Was something wrong? Or was it just another case of social media expectations clashing with real life? What followed wasn't just speculation, but a full-blown conversation about relationships, public perception, and what love is supposed to look like online. For a couple like Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz, every move is watched closely. Their relationship has been in the spotlight from the very beginning, blending two high-profile families and attracting attention from fans and media alike. Over time, they've shared glimpses of their life together, romantic moments, milestones, and affectionate messages that painted a picture of a deeply connected couple. So when something as symbolic as an anniversary passed without the usual public display, it didn't go unnoticed. But here's where things get interesting. Nicola Peltz did react, and her response added a new layer to the story. Instead of directly addressing any supposed snub, her reaction leaned into a different narrative, one that focused on the idea of being cozy. That single word quickly became the center of attention. For some, it suggested comfort, intimacy, and a relationship that doesn't need constant validation online. For others, it raised a different question. Was this a genuine reflection of their bond, or just a way to downplay what might have been an awkward situation? This is where the debate really begins. Because in today's digital culture, relationships are often judged by what is shared publicly. A heartfelt post, a throwback photo, a long caption filled with love. These become almost expected on special occasions. And when those expectations aren't met, people start to assume something is wrong. But is that fair? Does the absence of a post really say anything about the strength of a relationship? For Nicola Peltz, the idea of being cozy might actually reveal something deeper. It could reflect a relationship that exists beyond the need for public approval, a space where moments are lived privately rather than performed for an audience. And in many ways, that perspective challenges the way we come to understand modern love, especially when it comes to celebrities that at the same time. It's impossible to ignore the context. Brooklyn Beckham has built a public persona that often includes sharing personal moments, especially when it comes to his relationship. So when that pattern suddenly changes, it naturally draws attention. Fans aren't just reacting to one missing post, they're reacting to a break in consistency. And in the world of social media, consistency is everything. But let's take a step back for a moment, because what we're really looking at here isn't just a celebrity story. It's a reflection of how all of us engage with relationships in the digital age. We become so used to seeing love displayed online that we sometimes forget what it looks like offline. We equate visibility with validity, assuming that if something isn't shared, it might not be happening at all. Nicola Peltz's response, whether intentional or not, pushes against that idea. By framing things as cozy, she shifts the focus away from public expectations and toward private experience. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, not everything needs to be documented to be real. And that's a powerful message, especially in a culture that thrives on constant sharing. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. Critics have been quick to question whether cozy is just another way of avoiding the issue. Some argue that in a relationship as public as theirs, a simple acknowledgement of an anniversary isn't too much to expect. Others see it as a sign of imbalance, one person embracing privacy while the other remains silent. These interpretations highlight how differently people view the same situation, depending on their own expectations and experiences. And then there's the role of the media, which often amplifies these moments. Headlines framing the situation as a snub add a layer of drama that may or may not reflect reality. It turns a private dynamic into a public narrative, inviting everyone to form an opinion based on limited information. In doing so, it blurs the line between what is actually happening and what is being perceived. For Brooklyn Beckham, the silence itself becomes a statement, even if it wasn't intended to be one. In the absence of explanation, people fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. Some see it as carelessness, others as intentional privacy, and some as something more serious. But the truth is, we don't really know, and that uncertainty is what keeps the conversation going. What makes this story so compelling is how relatable it feels, despite the celebrity context. Because at its core, it's about expectations. the expectations we place on others, and the expectations we feel pressure to meet. In relationships, these expectations can be both explicit and unspoken, shaped by culture, experience, and yes, even social media. So when something like this happens, it becomes more than just a moment. It becomes a mirror, a way of examining how we define love, how we communicate it, and how we respond when it doesn't look the way we expect. Nicola Peltz and Brooklyn Beckham may be in the spotlight, but the questions being asked apply to anyone who has ever been in a relationship. As the conversation continues, one thing becomes clear. There is no single right way to express love. For some, it's grand gestures and public declarations. For others, it's quiet moments and private understanding. Neither is inherently better than the other. They are just different ways of connecting the eye in the end. Whether the situation is seen as cozy or lazy depends largely on perspective. It depends on what you value, what you expect, and how you interpret silence. But perhaps the more important takeaway is this. Not everything needs to be explained, and not every moment needs to be shared. Because sometimes the strongest relationships are the ones that exist beyond the noise. The ones that don't rely on validation from the outside world. The ones that are, in the truest sense of the word, simply cozy. And maybe that's the real story here. Not what was posted or not posted, but what it reveals about the way we see love in a world that's always watching.